I call this meeting of the the school board, Watertown Unified School Board, the June 20th meeting, 2025 to order to appoint a vacancy to the board. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Lynn, can you please take the roll?
Sam Alvino,
Here.
Carl Schwarzy,
Here.
Dan Bolter,
Here.
Craig Wortman,
Here.
Tammy Fournier, here, Lori Hoffman. Here.
Excellent. That brings us to our first opportunity for public input. The Board of Education will be limiting public comment speakers to 3 minutes per person to speak. We ask that district residents are allowed to speak first. If time allows, non-residents will be able to speak. The board recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on district matters. The board reminds the public that this is a business meeting of the board held in public. Participants shall direct all comments to the board and not to staff or other participants. Participants shall address only topics within the legitimate jurisdiction of the board. All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. No person may address or question board members individually. The presiding officer may interrupt, warn, or terminate a participant's statement when
Join the meeting
is too lengthy, personally directed, abusive, obscene, or irrelevant. The board president may request any individual to leave the meeting when that person does not observe reasonable decorum. The board president may request the assistance of law enforcement officers in the removal of a disorderly person when that person's conduct interferes with the orderly progress of the meeting. The board president may terminate remarks of any individual who does not adhere to or establish rules for public participation at board meetings, who speaks in a threatening or profane manner, or is otherwise unable to conduct himself or herself in a civil manner. This is pursuant to board bylaws 167.3. We ask that you identify yourself and your name and address, and also fill out the card as you approach for public input. Is there anybody that would like to? Go ahead.
I'd like to speak. Encouragement. So 3 minutes.
Could you identify yourself?
My name is Mike Cedarberg from Watertown, and it's great to stand before you this evening as I reflect on the path we've taken these past few years. If for some reason you are not aware, we have been in an information and cultural war for truth for decades now. We now see major victories for common sense, truth, and bedrock historical, true humane values happening in our midst. The battle is between two entities: the Creator, who is the most high being in this and all universes that even dare to exist, and the father of lies. The Most High, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God of Israel, is the sustainer, and he is the definer. His word, he defines what's right and wrong, good and evil, and truth and lies. His word is his way, and his way is immovable, and he exists whether we say he does or not, or really appreciate it or not. His name is Jehovah, which literally means existing one. My friends, we have sought God, we have repented, and God is heard. If I allow trouble, God says, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and heal their land. For judgment will again be righteous, and all the upright in heart will follow it. Psalm 15. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be satisfied. The father of lies uses tactics like those espoused by Saul Alinsky in his book Rules for Radicals. For Saul, the ends justify the means. Law and order does not matter. Here's a quote. The organizer's job is to bait the establishment so that it will attack him, the organizer, as a dangerous enemy. The hysterical instant reaction of the establishment not only validates the organizer's credentials of competency, but also strengthens his position with his constituency. Saul Alinsky, Rules for Radicals, page 128, 1971, original version published by Random House. We have experienced over the years Alinsky's tactics, but they are no longer working. As God has said, as God has seen fit to turn the tide, and there is no stopping it. As God has said to Joshua, he says to you, I have given you the city. Be strong and courageous. So be encouraged. Do not take the bait. You were elected. Others had their voice. They had it. No one took it from them, but they gave it up of their own volition. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we get too involved with public input, we're going to move forward with about a 20-minute limit. And then if there's still interest in public comment, we will move forward with that. So please.
I'm Diane Regent. I live at 509 South Fifth Street here in Watertown. I just simply want to say that I am here to tell our school board members, all of you, that I support you and I am pleased with the work that you put forth in what you do for our schools and our students and parents, and that you hear our voices. I am pleased of the job that you are doing and the job that you were elected to do by
Join the meeting.
of Watertown. You are supposed to be here because you were elected to be here. And I am glad that you all have the courage to endure and see it to the end. Fear not, for I am always with you. God is always with you.
Thank you.
I'm Carrie Owens, 1402 Stone Ridge Drive here in Watertown. As a resident, I have great concerns regarding the actions and inactions of this board. While I am retired and do not have children in the schools, I understand the importance of strong public education in our community, and that means educating all of our students in a kind and welcoming environment. These are our future citizens and leaders who deserve the best we can give them. Providing educational opportunities is right for our children, and if you have no regard for them, let me remind you, it's also important to those of us who are homeowners as you seek to maintain the equity in your home. So if financial insecurity is a concern for you, you want strong schools. A strong public school system is what brings young families to our community. Student achievement should be a priority for schools, but that achievement only comes with the creation of a welcoming and inclusive school system. Your concern with striking any policy statements speaking of equitable services or celebrating and protecting marginalized groups is difficult to listen to and will not create success. Your lack of empathy and inability to show kindness to others, including our students and your board peers, is shocking, and it's behavior teachers would not allow in their classrooms. It is apparent the district is working toward improved student achievement, as evidenced by the designation of Schurz as a school of promising practices, which shows that they were able to reach and support all of their students. Last year, that academic achievement was across all elementary schools, and I saw improvements at the other levels. This board's focus on dress codes, human growth and development curriculum, and obsession with teachers indoctrinating students and unprofessional actions toward their peers on the board is troubling. I'm concerned with the lack of focus during meetings, late arrivals, failure to document minutes correctly, use of cell phones, and an inability to solve the issues they were elected to work on, which is the financial security of our district. The role of the board is not to micromanage school staff. Place trust in the educators you have working tirelessly to improve our schools. Your role is to support them. This district is facing an enormous deficit and is facing school closures and layoffs. That must be your priority as a board. Finally, when choosing replacements for the 3 most recent resignations, I beg you to look at qualifications, new perspectives, and the strengths several candidates will bring. Post questions relevant to the purpose of the board, which will give a true picture of our candidate's skill set and not serve as a litmus test to add additional like-minded members. From watching the meetings, it appears you need more focus and a greater understanding of your role in order to better serve students. Perhaps you can find new members to support you in that, as 2 of your strongest left last week. Please do better for all of our children.
Thank you. Go ahead, please.
My name is Jill Kulik. I live at W4520 Smith Road in Watertown. I want to begin by acknowledging the weight and responsibility that comes with leadership. People in positions of authority are entrusted with more than just decision-making power. They are expected to model the values they ask others to follow, such as respect, integrity, fairness, and accountability. It is deeply troubling when those entrusted with that responsibility engage in behavior that undermines it, when bullying or belittling becomes tools used by those who should be setting a higher standard. Whether intended or not, such actions don't just harm individuals, they corrode trust and damage morale and diminish the credibility of leadership as a whole. I'd like to turn your attention to policy number 5362, the Anti-Bullying, Respect, and Relationships Policy. This policy defines bullying as a deliberate or intentional behavior using words or actions intended to cause fear, intimidation, or harm. It goes on to state that examples of bullying and disrespectful behavior include but are not limited to the following: ganging up on someone, teasing in a hurtful way, or using put-downs. Cyberbullying is prohibited and treated the same as all other types of bullying. Toward the bottom of the policy, it goes over promoting respectful relationships, where it states that the Watertown Unified School District employees are supposed to promote respectful relationships. School and/or WUSD resources will help promote respectful relationships by emphasizing the following: treat each other respectfully, refuse to bully or harass, refuse to let others be bullied or harassed, and refuse to watch, laugh, or join in when someone is being bullied. Therefore, any form of bullying will be taken seriously and appropriate remedial action will be enforced. Let me be clear, leadership is not about control. It is about service. It is about creating an environment where everyone feels safe, valued, and heard, even if there is disagreement. It is about holding oneself to the same expectations placed on others and leading with courage, not fear. I say this not out of hostility, but out of hope. Hope that we can rise to the standard. Hope that we can recognize when the line has been crossed and commit to doing better. Leadership is not about never
Joined the meeting.
It's about owning them, learning from them, and being willing to change. To the members of the school board, I ask that you reflect honestly on your words and actions. If they have caused harm, acknowledge it. If you have fallen short of the example you expect others to follow, correct it. Because the most powerful form of leadership is not demanding respect, it's earning it. Let's lead in a way that lifts people up and not tears them down. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Tammy Cedarberg from Hilltop Road, Watertown. As I have been hearing about the 4 most recent resignations from the school board, I have to say that I am a bit mystified as to why those on the board who seem to have left have chosen not to finish out their terms. Had they stayed on the board, there indeed would have been a diverse board, as there had been. Without precisely knowing why Fred Yant and Mike Higgins resigned, I'm under the understanding that they seem to have had personal extenuating circumstances that led them to their decisions. However, Ms. Chandler and Diana Johnson have given the clear communication to the public that they resigned because they do not have a voice on the board. As a constituent of the WUSD, my response to this is that they indeed had a voice on the board and decided to abdicate it. In the very short period of time that Mrs. Chandler was on the board, she did not even seem to give being on the board much of a chance and suddenly left due to what appears to many of us, because she cannot seem to take the heat in the midst of being a minority left position on the board. And then those who promote her and Diana Johnson are blaming the conservative members for their resignations. I fail to see the logic in this. I even submit to you that this is a bully tactic by protesters designed to shame the conservative members for Charity's and Diana's throwing in the towel because they appear to not like the present makeup of the school board. Regarding the candidates who are to replace Charity and Diana, I also urge you to put a conservative in their place for the following reasons, or simply just to stick with what you have chosen or where you're leaning, stick to your convictions. In the last two election cycles, okay, and these are the following reasons. Number one, in the last two election cycles, the voters of Watertown overwhelmingly voted for the most conservative candidates. This would reflect the will of the voters. Number two, some follow the logic that there should be diversity on the board. There was diversity on the board, but the left-leaning members who were duty-bound to stick out until the end of their terms as the diverse position suddenly decided to abdicate, and in my opinion, without cause. If it were in the hands, number three, of the left-leaning board to have the same situation as our present board has, to continue to vote for what seems to be conservative direction, even up to a 9-0 majority, I submit to you that they would undoubtedly take the opportunity to vote in more liberal members and without apology. The people of Watertown are very fair-minded and know bully tactics and unfair plays when they see them. I urge you to simply follow your convictions as you vote tonight and for the next two ones, and I thank you for your service. Thank you.
Gene Schmidt, East Haven Drive. First of all, I thank you all for being good, solid leaders on our school board. I know some of you personally, and I just want to give you a big thank you. It's easy to criticize until you're sitting in that chair. This winter, I happened to go to a meeting with 700 people at Riverside Middle School, just about discussing our bathroom situation in the school, whether there could be guys using the women's bathroom, etc., based on them feeling they're transgender or whatever. And unanimously, our city came out supporting conservative values, and that whole idea was shot down. Let me finish. It was shot down because Watertown is mostly conservative, with conservative values. Watertown is a faith-based city, and we have the right to elect leaders that support our values for our kids. We're fighting for the fabric of our society and for our kids, and it's a fight worth taking up. In April, there were fair elections. Anyone could have ran for the school board. Our city voted for conservatives to get in. Our city, I would guess, is over 98% conservative. You can, because that was the pulse of that meeting at Riverside. Second of all, we're not an autocracy or a democracy. Despite the rumors and rhetoric, there's some conspiracy involving our school board and the new members that resigned, and the voting process is not right. It's a democratic process. But I, as a minister, I want to see people support values that are healthy for our kids, not just the politics of the school board, but what's healthy mentally and spiritually. And that's becoming a bad thing to the left because they don't want those kind of values. I feel that we need to support what's healthy for our kids. And I want to just tell you that I'm very happy with the direction of this board. And I pray you continue to support biblical faith-based values for our kids, for our community, and for the people we put on the board. Thank you.
We have time for two more commenters and go ahead.
Start? Okay. My name is Terry Winkman. I actually serve as a school board member in Jefferson. So my address is in Jefferson, but I tried to let as many Watertown people speak as I could within reason to get up here. I also want to thank all of you for serving. I've been on the school board for 11 years and through a lot of tough stuff. So I really want to thank you. I understand that it is very hard and essentially volunteer. So I absolutely recognize that and thank you for serving your district. I also understand that there have been recent news stories about board turnover, and I know that's really hard. We have seen a few of these types of situations in Jefferson, and certainly it's never easy when a board makes the news, has a newsworthy story. So I just wanted to share and offer a bit of advice to you as the current board members on something that you're deciding tonight. My overall advice, and I'll go into a little more detail, is to try very hard to have a school board that actually represents your community. So you're hearing from various voices, and one of the most effective means of having a effective school board is actually to have it represent your entire community. So having a few members that maybe are pretty politically charged one way or another, a few members that maybe aren't involved in a lot of political things, maybe past educators who know a lot about the educational system and curriculum and things like that. All those things, according to WASB research, do make a much more effective school board. So while you're hearing that you have certain percentages of different things in your community, I think you all know that you're going to be most effective, most trusted, and most transparent if your board represents your community. And Watertown is quite large, and yet I guess some people are saying they consider it a small town. I know a lot of people and that think that it is small. It's much larger than where I'm from. And I can tell you as a board member, I've got lots of constituents that absolutely can't stand me as a board member. I have lots that I'm the only person they will call and say, hey, I have this issue. I need to talk to you. That is what an effective school board is. It is representation of your entire community. It is building trust. It is having diversity. It is that every constituent in your community trusts at least one of you to call you and get the true story or be able to tell you a story and know that you're going to bring that voice to the board. It doesn't have to be groupthink. It's not really supposed to be groupthink. It's supposed to be hard. Leadership is actually easy. Governing is much harder. Thank you.
The speaker before me was right on target from my perception. I just want to make that point to begin with. But my name is Ken Berg.
Thank you.
And I'm at 1201 Richards Avenue. I was on the school board from 1982 to 94, 12 years. I did the job you're in right now, so I know and I appreciate the difficulty of the job you're doing. But there is an importance of leadership. There's an importance of moving this district forward. And I'm concerned about the perception this district has right now, which is being magnified by resignations. And we can find out why they're quitting and all that kind of thing. But I'm bothered by the perception, which is creating an atmosphere of crisis and chaos. And somehow this board, this superintendent, this district has to turn it around somehow, because our city of Watertown, which I'm a member of, I've been on 18 years, and we are creating momentum in Watertown. We're having success. This town can grow, but we need the cooperation and the success of our school district for that to happen. And the chaos that's going on, from my perception right now, is affecting people in their decision when it comes fall. There's a decent chance that a number of people are going to decide not to come into this school system, which is going to magnify the economics of running this system and make it more difficult to operate as a district. I'm worried about that. Perception, again, is reality. I was board president for 4 years, and we had divided boards back then. I got elected most of the time as board president by 5-4 majorities. But we had a respect for the minority, and we got along. I mean, I know all the people on that board from the 12 years I was on, and we got along. And we never, ever in 12 years had resignations go on during that time. So that's just a precedent and an example that I can speak to. I don't understand the reasons why. We can say that they're doing it for the wrong reason, but there's still a problem just by definition of that many people are quitting in a short period of time. It needs to be looked into. When Channel 4 shows up here and is asking questions, what's going on, that is not a good reflection on our district. It impacts on the parents and the kids and the people that are looking at this district for a place to go to school. I don't want them going to, homeschool, private schools. Those are good options. I went to St. Henry's. I'm proud of that background of experience I had for 8 years. But then I went into 9th grade public and I graduated from Watertown. And so I respect private schools, but we are not trying to privatize public education, I hope. I hope that's not your intent. One thing I want to say tonight, when you make a decision on whoever you've got on these choices, I've been so busy in my ability to even look at these issues, but I know there's not going to be a decision tonight. I want you to pick a critical thinker. I want you to pick someone who's an advocate for making our public schools better. And I want you to look at that person, and if they don't agree entirely with your viewpoint, so what? If they're a critical thinker and they can improve the board by their contribution, then take them on as a board member and help them to be a better board member. But on the other two people that have quit, my opinion and my recommendation is that you should go to a special election. You should. Can you bring it? All right. Special election in September is the best way to get the respect of this district on putting two people in to replace those that quit, not another appointment through this board, because right now you've got a majority. You're going to continue to do the majority. Please listen to that viewpoint.
Thank you. All right. Thank you for everyone that decided to comment tonight. We appreciate your feedback. We're listening, and we're encouraged by the atmosphere of the board moving forward. So thank you for your civility and decorum moving forward. All right. What do you want? What is the pleasure of the board? Do you want to hear from somebody online? Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll hear from one person. Okay. It's David.
And you see it.
David, go ahead.
Hey, can you hear me?
Can you please identify yourself for the record?
My name is David Byrne. I'm a resident of Watertown for the last 30 years. And I did want to first say that I do have a very specific, well-defined religious faith and spirituality, and under no circumstances would I ever choose to impose that on other people. That said, I do want to say a couple things about the last election and the November school board meeting. The November school board meeting at Riverside was orchestrated on a detailed, comprehensive social media campaign that was filled with lies and misinformation and solely intended to poison the atmosphere against transgender children and teenagers. There was no need to change that policy. The board was bullied into it by a crowd of hundreds who had zero evidence of any reason to be concerned because zero evidence existed. I want to say a couple of things about the last school board election. People talk about the will of the people, but the will of the people to know exactly what school board candidates intended to do was withheld from them. There were highly emotionally charged accusations filtered throughout the community. No CRT in the classrooms, no sexualization, no gender ideology, no politicization. None of that existed, but it was clearly a highly skilled way of planting those ideas in the community. I have yet to date to hear a single shred of evidence to prove any of these accusations. And then on top of it, the orchestrated attack against teachers is just mind-boggling. I know of no other profession where people without an education background are going to dictate what teachers can read, what books they can have in their room, what clothing they can wear, and what kind of relationship they can have with students. I've had 3 sons matriculate through the school, and they've had a tremendous public school education. And I do see that beginning to crumble. Ken Berg said something about the goal of privatization. Those of us who follow Moms for Liberty know that that's the goal. that's the single solitary goal, to undermine public school education, degrade and disrespect
Join the meeting.
teachers.
We just lost some words.
No, I think we can get that up.
Oh.
David, did you accidentally mute yourself, please?
Lower their hand.
Okay.
He had 50 seconds left if he comes back.
It's unfortunate we didn't get to hear the rest of his comments. Well, that brings us to the part of the agenda where we discuss the voting process and move forward from there. So we have to first approve the voting process. So be it resolved that the Watertown Unified School District Board of Education adopt the following voting process for the board vacancy. Each candidate will be given the opportunity to address the board explaining their interest and qualifications. Given the number of candidates, this will be limited to 3 minutes per candidate. Candidate order will be drawn. The board will have the opportunity to ask candidates questions after each candidate makes their remarks to the board. At the conclusion of the candidate remarks and the board questions, board members will vote by signed written ballot for their preferred candidate. No candidates are eliminated until one receives a majority of votes. In this case, a majority of the board. We have 6 of us, so that would be 4. If a candidate receives support from a majority, if a candidate receives, I lost my place now. If a candidate receives support from a majority of the board members present, the board will then vote on a resolution appointing that candidate to the vacancy. Or B, there is a tie among 2 candidates. In the event of a tie, after 10 rounds of voting signed by written ballots at the end of 10 rounds, if no change has been made, the board president will move on to the next meeting agenda item. If voting is suspended, the selection of a board appointment will be postponed and the continuation of the selection process will be reviewed and outlined at the next policy committee meeting in July. A confirmation of the appointment will happen within a full board meeting prior to September. The date is not correct in here. I have
5 days up.
Yeah.
It is correct. September 22nd of 2025. Do I hear a motion to accept the voting process rules?
I'll make a motion to accept. I'll second.
It was moved by Tammy and seconded by Lori. Roll call vote, please.
Sam Owineal,
Yes.
Carl Shorzy,
Yes.
Dan Volkner,
Yes.
Craig Wortman,
Yes,
Tammy Fournier,
Yes.
Lori Hoffman.
Yes.
and the motion carries. We'll go ahead and just a second here. I would like to extend a thank you to all the applicants who have stepped forward at this time. It takes a special person who is willing to step up and engage in this type of public service. I'm thankful for that kind of individual. I have respect for the process and individuals who step forward. So we have asked the candidates to stick to a brief 3-minute statement, then participate in a board interview. I would then like to ask the board to please try to think of about 1 to 2 questions to ask, and please refrain from a back and forth discussion with the candidate except where it is necessary to clarify a question. We would like to try to keep working on keeping the nature of the questions as consistent as possible from candidate to candidate. All right, let's have Jill Kulik.
My name is Jill Kulik, and I'm proud to stand before you as a candidate for the Watertown Unified School District Board of Education. As a parent and active PTO member, I've spent years closely connected to our schools, celebrating their successes and seeing areas where we can grow. I'm running because I believe we owe it to our children to ensure that every student is supported, every educator is valued, and every dollar is used wisely. My professional background is rooted in project management and business ownership. I've helped organizations increase productivity and profitability, managed accounts payable and receivable, led teams with accountability and purpose. I've also managed a local group home supporting individuals with developmental disabilities, a role that deepened my commitment to inclusion and dignity for all. Perhaps most meaningful, I served in our very own district as a substitute paraprofessional in the special education department. That hands-on experience, although short, gave me a direct insight into the challenges and triumphs within our classrooms, especially for students who need extra help. I'm running on a platform of fiscal responsibility, ensuring our resources directly benefit our students and teachers, support for special education and student services so every child has a chance to thrive, and strengthening school-family partnerships because I believe when parents are involved, everyone wins. I'm not a career politician. I'm a parent, a professional, and a community member who's ready to listen, learn, and lead with heart and accountability. Thank you for the opportunity to serve. I hope to earn your support as we work together to build a stronger future for all of our students in Watertown.
If you could, that'd be great.
Sorry.
Sorry, but we have to put you on the hot seat a little bit.
That's all right.
All right. Anybody would like to go first?
Joe, I'm asking the question of everybody, but how many genders do you believe there are?
All right, well, I thought we were moving forward from this, but, you know, I don't really feel comfortable answering that, so.
Okay, you don't have to answer. Was there any other questions?
I want to know a little more about your background, in special education.
What would you like to know?
Have you got any formal education and background in special education?
I have numerous certificates from when I was managing the group home. I was basically running almost at a nurse level. We were doing G-tube feedings and medications. I had to write IEPs for the residents of the group home and share those with the county nurses and their guardians. I mean, I don't know what kind of, I don't have a 4-year degree. I have all of the prerequisites completed.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any other questions?
I have a question. So this past April, the referendum failed by a large margin. So what ideas would you bring to the board to increase the potential of a referendum passing the next election cycle if the board votes to put a referendum on?
Join the meeting.
Yeah, I think that there needs to be much more community involvement. I think it needs to be at all different platforms. We can't just hand out flyers and put things in the newspaper. I think we need to have numerous like listening sessions. I think having community input with what community members are looking for. And then I think specifically from myself, I would appreciate if we could get all of the board members on the same page so that everybody can support what is being put out and asked of the community members, because I know there was some issues with some people saying not to vote for the referendum. And I think it's hard for community members to feel comfortable and confident placing a yes vote if they're hearing multiple sides of the story from them.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Sam?
Yeah, so obviously we've recently had 2 resignations
And I wanted to know, would you say that you support the manner in which those resignations happened? Do you think that that was appropriate and a way that would be acceptable to conduct yourself if you were on the board?
As far as placing a letter of resignation? I'm not sure what the question is.
I mean, the manner in which the last two resignations occurred. At the beginning of a term, partway through the year, suddenly without notice, one after the other.
I mean, I feel like if somebody is not feeling like their voice is being heard and have, I know one of the board meetings that I watched, there were both board members were doing the video, the Zoom, and their hands were raised and they were not called on. So I feel like they may have felt that their voice wasn't being heard. And I feel like when you're in a position where you feel like you're not being supported by letting your voice be heard, I think that can be tremendously difficult. I myself, if I were selected, I would be willing to sit out a full term, but I can't say that for anyone else because I feel like that was their own choice to make.
Okay,
And
thank you.
I support them.
How would you respond to the concerns of parents with whom you might disagree?
Well, I'm a pretty open person and I'm willing to listen to anybody. I feel like, although I don't agree with everybody because nobody does, I think that everybody's voice is valuable. And I think that, like was previously mentioned in the public input, that having a well-rounded board is important because then there is somebody for everybody to be able to reach out to that they can connect with. And I think that's important. If somebody reaches out to me and I don't feel that I share their same viewpoint, I do still feel that I would bring that forward to the board at a topic of discussion, because that's the whole purpose of this position, is to be a service to all community members.
I have a question. Being a board member, you're required to have some tough skin. When matters get tough, will you resist the urge to abdicate your responsibilities to the board and to the community? Or to put it differently, will you be able to commit to your constituents that you will remain on the board to bring their voice?
Is that basically exactly the same as what Sam asked?
Similar.
Okay. All right. So I'm telling you, I'm willing to sit out. If I was selected, I would sit for the full term. There's definitely a lot of heated discussion that has come up on the board recently. And I can tell you that I do not agree with all of the things that all of you have said. Some of the things I have agreed with. And I think that is the purpose of having a balanced board, is that somebody should be able to agree with something that someone has said on the board. It shouldn't be all one-sided. And so I am hoping that you will select somebody that has a slightly different viewpoint than yourself, perhaps this time that we're selecting a new board member. That's my thought.
Okay. Thank you. Sarah.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity to speak with you tonight. My name is Sarah Fitch. I'm an occupational therapist, a healthcare leader, and a parent of a Watertown High School student. I'm also a product of public school education, which not only taught me academics, but how to contribute to something larger than myself. In my current role, I manage therapy programs across nearly a dozen skilled nursing facilities in Wisconsin. In this role, I lead teams, I navigate complex regulations, and I solve operational challenges, often with extremely limited resources. I'm also pursuing my doctorate in occupational therapy, where my research focuses on training adolescents in life skills, health literacy, and self-advocacy. Through this, I recently developed a peer-led, community-based program to help teens grow in resilience, leadership, and readiness for real-world challenges. This work has strengthened my belief in the vital role schools play in supporting and protecting children. Academic success depends not just on curriculum and test scores, but on whether students feel safe, supported, and equipped to engage, whether parents and educators feel a partnership involving open communication, mutual respect, and shared investment. I'm running for this seat because I know our public schools are a vital part of our community. I want to ensure that we continue to deliver excellent outcomes while being honest about the constraints we face. We're operating on a tight budget while simultaneously working to retain high-quality staff in a landscape where burnout is real, expectations continue to rise, and neighboring districts compete, possibly with higher wages and lower demands. I believe in supporting our educators, using data to make strategic decisions, and focusing on what truly drives student success. I bring a collaborative leadership style, hands-on experience navigating diverse viewpoints, and a strong focus on clear and responsible decision-making. I care deeply about this community, and I am ready to use my skill set to contribute to this district's continued growth. I thank you again for your consideration.
Any questions, Sarah? How many genders do you believe in?
Sure, so,
Order.
that, that's a strongly fueled, subject, probably better left to, scientists, medical professionals, beyond myself. What I will say is that I do believe in policies that ensure the safety, and support of students and staff.
Yeah, so I did look over your resume and I was interested in your community involvement and leadership section. You talk about the Emerge Wisconsin class of 2025.
Sure.
Can you tell me a little bit about that class, where it came from, why you chose to attend, et cetera?
Yeah, so Emerge class, it's a program nationwide. Many states have it. So Emerge Wisconsin is a program that provides training and support to women interested in serving in public service roles. It's something that I had considered for many years. I was preparing to apply for the program prior to COVID, but I work in a healthcare setting. So COVID pretty much shut down everything in my life and my family's life, except for keeping ourselves safe and keeping my patients safe. So I finally feel like after COVID, I've been able to come back up for some air. And so I applied for the program because I have been called to serve my community. And that program has given me the skills to be able to do that.
So the reason that I ask is because I'm wondering if there's like a particular political angle to it, or is it a bipartisan group, or what's the background on it?
Sure. So it is geared for Democratic women. It's not specifically one type of democracy. So we have people in my class, alumni of the program. We all still have different ideologies, but a commitment and a desire to serve our communities.
Okay, thank you.
In your letter, you stated, "I am passionate about creating equitable, inclusive environments where all students can thrive academically, socially, emotionally." What changes in approach curriculum or teacher professional development resources would you make to support the ability of students who have fallen behind to catch up academically?
Sure. So since that is not my area of expertise, that's where I rely on the professionals that the district employs to, explain what they need to ensure that those students do not fall behind or are able to catch up. My goal with that is to ensure that we're listening to the needs of the teachers and the students, and developing and adjusting policies based on that.
Okay, I guess I want to follow up on that. I think we should be worried about the teachers and the students, but I'm yet to hear you say anything about parents. So do you ever think that it's appropriate for a teacher to keep thinking something from a parent?
So it certainly depends on the situation. I feel like that is a broad question. There definitely needs to be a strong partnership between parents and educators. And I support policies that promote that partnership between parents and educators.
So there could potentially be situations where you would support staff members keeping information from their children, about their children from parents?
Again, it's a broad question. There's a lot of variables. And as I am not an educator, I support policies that promote that relationship.
Okay, well, do you have any recommendations on how we could improve public opinion to get a referendum passed in April?
Sorry, can you say that
The
again?
referendum failed last April. So
Mhm.
do you have any ideas on how we could get the community behind getting the referendum to pass, should we vote to put it on the ballot
Yeah.
next April?
And sort of, along the same things that Kelly had said, I think to get a referendum passed, there needs to be unity among the board, and there needs to be a lot of active, aggressive conversations going on with community members. I think there tends to be a lot of misunderstanding, and people hear referendum and they think that as a district, we're asking for more money for things that aren't, more money from their tax dollars that are not going to benefit them in any way, when that's not necessarily the case. Referendums are needed to maintain the standards and practices that are currently going on. But that requires extensive conversation, meeting people where they're at and having those active listening sessions and discussions.
Thank you.
I'll ask the same question as before. Will you resist the urge to abdicate your responsibilities to the board and to the community or to put it differently, will you be able to commit to your constituents that you will remain on the board to bring their voice?
Yeah. And when you asked previously, you had mentioned the phrase thick skin. In my everyday life, I have to have thick skin when I'm talking to unhappy patients, unhappy patient families, insurance companies particularly. So thick skin is something that I absolutely have. And the one thing that I always stay grounded to during my tough conversations, during the tough moments, is the quality patient care that my teams and I provide. So that always, staying grounded to that core value is what drives us forward.
All right, thank you. Are there any other questions? Thank you very much, Sam. Is it Julaine?
It is.
Okay. Julaine.
Good evening. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to you about my interest in this term limited vacancy. I love living in Watertown. I've had many opportunities to live elsewhere, but I have chosen to live here, to establish roots here. I believe we as a city and as a school district have much going for us. And I believe we also have much potential for more good, especially in our schools. And I would welcome the opportunity to be part of turning that potential into reality. My background as an educator, you've seen my resume, my cover letter, both in the classroom and in administration, as well as having served on this board in years past, gives me experiences well suited to serve the people of Watertown, to serve the students in our schools and the faculty, staff, and the administration. One of my core beliefs is that parents are the first and the best teachers of their children. When they choose a WUSD school for their children's formal education, they are in essence choosing a partner. Good partnerships require open, transparent, and timely communication, and an openness to suggestions and concerns, especially those of parents. If selected for this position, I give you my word that I will listen to all stakeholders. I will carefully and respectfully consider all points of view, and then will make decisions that are consistent with my core beliefs and that are in the best interest of our students. We have tough decisions coming. We need to be wise. We need to be fiscally responsible and very transparent in our deliberations and decision-making processes. If selected, I look forward to being part of making WUSD a standout school district that is known for giving all students an opportunity to achieve academic success so that they can not just survive, but thrive in their future endeavors. Partnerships are also about accountability. As a board member, I would seek to encourage accountability from the board to parents, taxpayers, as well as to all school personnel. I would certainly hold myself to that standard. That's what public servants do. I believe the best days of WUSD are ahead. We have work to do to keep getting better, to turn out well-prepared young people, and to do so with wise financial and solid, responsible policy decisions. Should the board select me to serve with them, I would be honored to roll up my sleeves and get to work for the sake of the families and the students in our district. Thank you.
Elaine, I have a very simple question for you. How many genders do you believe there are?
Mr. Villner, there are two.
Irrelevant.
Order, please.
Could you say that again?
Mr. Voldner, there are two.
Thank you. Well, I have a follow-up question. Did the police ever catch the people who firebombed your offices in Madison?
What did not happen to do?
Well, with all due respect, Mr. Voldner, I'm not sure that that is pertinent to the discussion at hand. So I will yield to the board president on whether I should respond to that question.
No, let's not.
I'm happy to have that discussion at the conclusion of the meeting.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so some of our board members recently attended a school board for academic excellence training seminar focused on how to help all students achieve academic excellence. For example, at the seminar, we learned how children in Great Britain and other countries have pulled far ahead of the US in academic achievement because they took a hard look at their curriculum, their methods, and what they were doing to help children who had fallen behind. They then fixed their approach so teachers have the time and the tools they need to effectively ensure that any child who has fallen behind gets what they need to catch up and succeed. Parents are currently leaving our district to access education models that work better for their kids. I want to see Watertown reverse that trend by providing our teachers with gold standard methods, models, curriculum, and resources. Your application says you have experience as a teacher, a curriculum developer, and an administrator. What knowledge and experience do you have in classical education and other gold standard practices that you would bring to board level discussions and decisions to help us achieve this goal?
Well, let me clarify first of all, then in the truest sense, I do not have experience with classical education, which is a current approach to education that many parents are favoring right now. That takes you back to studying Latin and studying history from a different perspective and some other things like that. Let me say at the outset here, I am trained as a teacher. My heart is that of a teacher and an educator. So you can take me out of the classroom, but that still is resident within me. So my heart beats for what happens in these classrooms and in our schools. I think one of the things we have to do here in Watertown is be very realistic about, first of all, what assets do we have that are currently working? We have some things that are working. They need to be highlighted. They need to be made better. Then we need to start getting the best and the brightest that we have together to say, okay, where are the holes? What can we learn from situations like with the conference that you all attended? And then what do we have to do to fill those holes? Do we need to, look, we're in such a tight financial situation right now that adding additional employees is probably not realistic. But how do we take the current employees that we have and take their skills and abilities and put them into the right place to make sure that students are struggling in a particular subject or perhaps across the board, that we can help them be successful? Not every student is going to succeed to the same level. I believe in equality. I believe that every student should have the opportunity to succeed, but what that level of success is different for every student. So it has to be quite individualized, but we have to apply the right resources, and we have to make sure we're taking an honest look at what we're doing. Education is an amazing thing. Education is remarkably cyclical. Remarkably cyclical. I've been in this long enough to see the cycles coming back. Nobody taught phonics. Then everybody taught phonics. Then nobody taught phonics. Then we're back, now we're back to where phonics is again being the most promoted approach to learning reading. That's just it's the nature of how we've done education. So we have to be willing to take the hard looks, put the right people in place, and then give them what they need to help these students. It's going to be very individualized. It can't help but be. But I do think we can do better. Look, I think that I look at the report cards that come out from the state. I pay very, very close attention. I've had to, through the last quarter century, I've had to be paying attention to that. And I look at how Watertown does, and I think we can improve. We can have a lot more students that are at the higher levels of proficiency. Well, we're gonna have to work at it, and we're gonna have to apply the right metrics, first of all, but secondly, we're gonna have to make sure we have the right people in the right places.
So I recently had a constituent talking about the current circumstance with some of the resignations, write to me and ask me about, biases, political or religious biases on the school board. And they also talked about how a school board needs to have a high standard of morality and ethics. And I thought that that was an interesting contrast between those two things, being free of, I guess I would say more broadly, philosophical biases, but also having a high standard of morals and ethics. This is a big question that you could talk about for an hour. How would you balance those as a board member?
Well, the first thing that comes to my mind is John Adams, who said that our form of government is suited only to a moral and religious people. It is wholly unsuited to any other. Because our founders knew that in order to have limited government, you had to have people who self-limited, right? And you have to be able to self-govern in order to have a limited government. When the person was right to talk about morality and ethics. As public servants, you are called to the highest level of ethics and morality, in my opinion. That may mean different things to some of you. There are legalities involved, obviously, that you have to pay attention to. But I think at the end of the day, the first thing I have to be true to is to what I believe. What are my core beliefs? And they have to guide me in my thinking and in my ultimate decision making. So as long as those are in the bounds of what is legal, what is ethical, what is moral, and as what is in the best interest of the students and the school district as a whole, I believe that would be incumbent upon me to exercise decision-making in that direction. So I am not one, in full disclosure, I am not one who says that if 55 people call me and say, you should do this, and I know that it is not the right thing to do, I will listen, and I will listen respectfully. But if I believe that that is the wrong thing to do for the best interests of the students, based on these other things that I just talked about, I will make a decision that may be contrary to those 55 calls.
Okay, thank you.
I have done that.
I have two questions for you. Basically, when matters get tough, will you resist the urge to abdicate your responsibilities to the board and to put the community first? Or to put it differently, will you be able to commit to your constituents that you will remain on the board to bring their voice?
I will commit.
The second question is, I see that your resume, that you have served as a board member in the past. What brought about your departure from the board?
Fair question. Thank you. I was elected in 2000, and for the first term, my second term would have ended in 2006. And my work at that time escalated at a very unexpected pace. And at the time, I noticed your committee number is much smaller than it was back then. I think we had about 10 committees back then, and I think I served on 4 committees, and the committee meetings were during the day. So my job was in Madison. So I was running from Watertown to Madison, from Madison back to Watertown to try to catch all those committee meetings, because I believed passionately that I should be at them all. And I didn't want to be in absentia when it came to representing the constituents who had put me into office. And so when work conflicted to such a degree with my responsibilities here, I felt it was only appropriate that I stepped down, because I couldn't give what this service needed because of the demands of what I was doing for work.
Thank you.
My question is, again, the referendum failed in April. What would you bring to the board ideas on what we could do to get the community behind the referendum should we vote to put it on the ballot again next April?
Well, I appreciate your asking that question, because I don't know, I can't remember for sure, but I don't think I've ever voted against a referendum until this spring. And I voted against it because it lacked such clarification, such details. I knew very little about it. As it happened, because of my current situation, I'm home a lot more. So I was available. I didn't hear a lot about it. I didn't get a lot of mail. I didn't get any phone that I recall. I didn't get any phone calls. And I felt like I was voting for something that was very obtuse, very vague. And we were talking a lot of money with, in my mind, almost in perpetuity. I don't think that's wise on the board's part to think about spending taxpayer money in perpetuity. I think there has to be a sunset clause on those kinds of things. I think that's responsible financial stewardship. The people deserve that. And so that's a couple of things that I would look for. And I don't know. So Dr. Burke, I don't know for sure what happened. I certainly not sure what the board did, but I would assume that there would be focus groups and perhaps you had those. Okay, what focus groups are important because you get a heartbeat of the community and you get input. Now, those focus groups have to be very carefully put together. They can't be all the people who agree with people who want the referendum or all the people who say, no, we don't want the referendum. They have to have, enough breadth in there so you get a real understanding of where the community is on this. But the community obviously agreed with me. I don't think they thought there was enough clarity in there, enough detail in there to feel comfortable about where this money is going. Look, there's a reality, and it's a tough reality. I get that. Look, it is out there in public. I voted to close Concord. That was the hardest board meeting I sat through in 6 years, almost 6 years. I felt for those people. We went out to Concord. We had those meetings in those buildings. That was the heartbeat of their community. And we felt that. But financially, we had no option. We're getting to the point where we have to make tough decisions because we have declining enrollment. We can't just keep spending money at the same rate when we have fewer students. Education, whether you're in private school, by the way, or you're in public school, it's a numbers game. As far as money, you know all about that. What is it? Second Friday in September and second Friday, I think, in January. We do the head counts. So we're in for some tough things, and I think we have to talk seriously about a referendum, whether a referendum is the right way to go. And if a referendum is the right way to go, let's make it clear what that money is going to go for, when the end is going to come, and how we're just the details that people need to know to feel comfortable.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
There's one name left. Unfortunately, we had two candidates drop out of the out of the consideration tonight. And unfortunately, that is clearly unfortunate. Ms. C. Kukan. All right.
So this is my second go around. So I'm not going to go through my resume again because you've all seen it. It's been published online. But if you'll just indulge me a little bit, I'd like to approach this like I approach a classroom. And I'd like to hold a Socratic seminar. And for those of you that don't know what a Socratic seminar is, it's a student-led discussion where participants are asked questions and they prepare evidence-based answers that require them to use critical thinking skills of analysis, evaluation, interpretation, self-regulation, inference, synthesis, problem-solving, and deductive reasoning. Then during the seminar, they must use the skills of collaborative discourse and dialogic reasoning, which includes listening to understand, asking purposeful questions, engaging with opposing viewpoints, building shared meaning, metacognitive awareness, and cognitive empathy. This allows the students to explore ideas, challenge assumptions, and seek truth. It's how we teach our students to listen, to reflect, to engage respectfully in dialogue, and most importantly, to think for themselves. So for tonight, here is our essential question for the Socratic seminar. What does responsible, ethical school board guidance look like? So let's begin. What do you call it when 5 members resign in 1 year? A coincidence or a collapse? What's it called when the senior members are stripped of leadership and power is handed to loyalists with no experience? A meritocracy or a manipulation? Can you claim you support merit-based hiring if every appointment is made based on ideology and not experience? Is that integrity or just gatekeeping? What message does it send when a board candidate accuses a respected principal of grooming while he's running for candidacy without evidence? Does that teach our students about truth and justice? Is it transparency when one board member takes it upon himself to rewrite board policy, which is not compliant with the law and has ultimately cost the district thousands of dollars? Or is that just old-fashioned dishonesty? What do we call it when board members ask board candidates illegal questions during the interview process? Is this due diligence or discrimination? Is this leadership or a lawsuit waiting to happen? If someone running for a board position refuses to share their views with voters, who exactly are they representing? Is this silence a way to avoid accountability? Would we accept this level of vague communication from our students on a major project? What do we call it when school board members continue to cash their taxpayer-funded paychecks while openly refusing to support the referendum for our school board?
Ms. Kukan, your time is, can you draw
My time is what?
your time has come to a close.
It has?
It has.
Okay, then I will submit this so it's on the public record. There are quite a few more for here, but particularly I just want to mention that I would like to know when you will be holding your board mandated assessments, because those are supposed to be public knowledge and there's a minimum of 2 a year. So those should be coming out soon, I'm assuming.
The other,
But I will submit this for the record.
Okay.
And so everyone will have that. But your questions for me are? Dan, be careful because yours violates 118 of Wisconsin law. I did not press charges last time because I did not want to waste the money of the school board. But don't ask it again, Dan.
It doesn't violate.
Yes, it does violate law because it's asking.
Hold on.
It does violate law.
I think she's.
It does.
Question.
Read Wisconsin statute 118.20.
Look, this is not intended to be a back and forth.
No, I understand, but if she said it, then I get to respond to it. Sam, you had a question?
I just wanted you to specify for me what specific part of.
118.20.
Is there a specific subsection in there? I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
It says you could, and what does it read to you?
This is quite a lot of text. Would you like me to read all of it to you right now?
You could, I mean, you said which specifically, it said 18.20.
All that.
Yeah, you cannot ask
Listen.
about personal beliefs, and that is a personal belief statement.
The reason that I ask is because the heading says teacher discrimination. So
It's for any employee of a state institution.
We're elected officials. We're not employees, ma'am.
But you are, because you're paid by taxpayers.
As
So
a-
you,
Hold on. Let's bring this back. to
yes,
this-
sir, I apologize.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for this particular candidate at this
I have
time?
no questions.
I mean, I do have an actual question. I just wanted to get a clarification on
No,
what specific.
Let's not,
looking for.
as long as your question isn't related to the statute.
No, it's not related to the statute.
Okay.
No, so I asked this previously, at previous elections, actually, or appointments rather. On the basis of the last 2 elections, I think we've seen a pretty clear direction in what the people of Watertown are looking for. And I actually agree with one of the earlier commenters that it's very important that we have people on the board who reflect the will of the general public. So what would you say is the element that you bring to the table that would make the general public vote for you in an election to the degree where you would win?
I have 30 years of teaching experience as well as a master's in educational curriculum and leadership. So what I bring that this board doesn't have is that background. I also bring a voice of people that have been leaving this board because they're being shut down. I started this as a Socratic seminar to show specifically what it is that I did as a teacher that taught children how to think for themselves, not what to think, but how to think for themselves, how to use evidence, how to back it up. And from what I'm watching, that's not happening when when this board is having discussions. It's not a discussion. It becomes an echo chamber. So what would I bring is hopefully there could be some actual dialogue with evidence rather than talking about stuff that we're finding on social media and more specifically, I've heard all night long, well, conservative, liberal. This is supposed to be a political neutral position. This is a politically neutral position. We're supposed to leave our personal biases at the door. And it's not happening. You're running people out of town and you're running the school into the ground. Tammy, your question often was about the referendum. The biggest problem about the referendum is that they don't understand why we even needed it in the first place. This wasn't about mismanagement of funds. This was about Act 10 and what was done to our school systems when they changed the laws. So I would agree with you that there needs to be more information given to the people. 100%. I agree with you, Tammy. More information has to go out. People have to understand why this referendum exists, what the money is used for, why it looks like it's a perpetuity. We're talking 60 to 80 people in 1 year, and it's not just this year. What that's going to do to the city of Watertown when it's the second largest employer is detrimental. And people have to start hearing about it now. We have to stop worrying about dress codes and what's on people's heads and start informing all of the constituents. Nobody has their constituents. You have all of the constituents. They aren't one person.
Barb
And I'm
White
sorry I came off
joined the meeting.
appropriate. I apologize for that. It was wrong. I should have had a more level head.
Right, because you have to remember that the decision to make it a forever referendum was with all the board members that you are saying are far better than we are.
I didn't say
Okay,
that.
let's
So
not get into
Greg,
it.
can I ask?
That's my mistake.
Yeah, can we ask, can I ask for those leaps of assumptions not to be made, thrown at me without the ability for my ability to talk? Is that possible? Like, can we stop the hurling?
Okay, I understand that you have an issue with that. I think I addressed that.
I appreciate it. Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
Were there any other questions?
This back and forth, in this back and forth, you have engaged in, condescending, divisive rhetoric. If selected, what will you do to foster a productive working relationship with board members with whom you disagree?
Is it condescending? Explain to me why it's condescending. Is it my tone?
If I have to explain it to you,
No, I truly, they're questions. There were questions that are legitimate questions.
it's not about the question. It was about your demeanor. Your presentation.
So you're asking me to change my personality?
I'm not asking you to do anything.
No, I'm trying to clarify your
I'm
question.
saying if, okay. You're getting hung up on the first sentence, so we'll just drop it. If selected, what will you do to foster a productive working relationship with board members with whom you disagree?
I think I just did it when I apologized to Tammy for my behavior. I took a step back and apologized. I apologize for being inappropriate. So that's one way to start it. I allowed my feelings to overtake the thought and the discussion, took a step back and apologized.
It's not really what I'm asking for. I'm asking for a proactive.
Oh,
approach.
well, it would have to begin with, I guess, all of us, if I were asked to be on this board, which I highly doubt. But if I were asked to be on this board, what I would ask is that every single one of us write down our educational philosophies. I think if each of us knows where the other is coming from, then we can find the center.
Thank you.
I'm going to refrain from asking my questions. Thank you. we have agenda to discussion of candidates, which we had with the, was there any discussion that needs to occur? Hearing none. Well, that'll bring us around to the voting process. And do we have ballots? In order to appoint the candidate to the board, it sounds like we need a majority of the full membership of the board to move forward with an appointment to the board, which would be 5.
So with 6 votes, Julaine Appling will be our candidate.
Julaine, do you accept the outcome of the vote?
Yes.
All right, excellent, thank you. Then we will be in touch. Congratulations.
We have to vote on.
Oh, I'm sorry, we have to affirm that particular vote. Roll call vote, please.
We have the motion second.
Sorry about that. Be it resolved that the Watertown Unified School Board of Education hereby appoints to fill the vacant Board of Education seat commencing at the next board meeting for a limited term expiring April of 2026. Do I hear a motion?
So move.
Second.
What?
You have to say.
Right? Is moved by Dan, seconded by Sam. Does this,
Actually, Carl was one who made.
Carl was the one.
Carl,
Yep.
moved by Carl, seconded by Sam. Yeah.
Yes.
We'll be putting it in when we're done.
Okay. So do I have to,
No, we're good.
okay. Roll call vote, please.
Sam Oineal,
Yes.
Carl Schwarzy,
Yes.
Dan Boltner,
Yes.
Craig Wortman.
Yes.
Tammy Fournier,
Yes.
Lori Hoffman.
Yes.
And the motion carries. That brings us to our next order of business. Pursuant to Wisconsin statute 19.851C, considering employment and promotion compensation of any employee, any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. Do I hear a motion?
Could I motion to go for a 5-minute recess before we go in? Do you guys mind or is it?
Do I hear a motion to enter?
I'll motion to enter closed session.
It is moved by Sam, seconded by Dan.
Okay, who's first? Who's first?
Sam.
Moved by Sam, seconded by Dan.
To go into closed session
Yeah.
and then take over.
Roll call vote, please.
Sam Alwini.
Yes.
Carl Schwarzy.
Yes.
Dan Volner.
Yes.
Craig Wortman.
Yes.
Tammy Fournier.
Yes.
Lori Hoffman.
Yes.
And the motion carries. Folks, we are entering into a closed session. Can you please?
Thanks for sending.
You're welcome.
I'll do my best. I'm in a paling comparison of all she does, honestly.
All right.
Subpar.
The last order of business that we have is resolution 9415. Be it resolved that the Watertown Unified School District Board of Education approve the contract adjustment for elementary school administrator as discussed in closed session. Do I hear a motion?
I move.
I'll second.
Moved by Carl, seconded by Tammy. Roll call vote, please.
Sam O'Neill,
Yes.
Carl Schwarzy,
Yes.
Dan Voltner,
Yes.
Craig Mortman,
Yes.
Tammy Fournier, yes. Lori Hoffman.
Yes.
And the motion carries. Finally, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll second.
Was moved by Sam and seconded by Tammy. All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carried.
Adjourned at 7:19.